Fraser Hammer. I'm principal here at Sealth International High School. And I am happy to see you guys here to brave through the rain and treacherous roads if the roads are still bad, to make it here tonight. Glad to see all of you. We have a little bit of information for you about safety at Sealth, and so I will be addressing the school, what happens here at the school, and how we keep your students and the staff members safe. And then Peggy McAvoy is here for the district. We work closely together to make sure that things are running smoothly. And Helen Young is my boss, so I work closely with her also to make sure that people are safe here. And you probably know Mr. Jeff Clark. He is the principal at Denny, and because we are co-located, we work closely together to make sure that the campus as a whole, joint campus, is safe. And then Officer O'Neill over there comes in every now and again we work together to make sure that as a community we are safe. So together we will talk about our parts in making sure that our campus and our community is safe. So I have a PowerPoint to help me focus my thoughts. And like I said, what I will do is focus mostly on how Sealth handles the safety of our students and staff. So I wanted to start off with what a safe school is. And so we may have different opinions and different definitions of what a safe school is, but I tried to stick with some of the definitions that might be more pertinent to us. So it says a safe school is a place where students can learn and teachers can teach. Pretty straightforward, because that's what kids come to school to learn, teachers come to teach those kids who come to school. So it is also a welcoming environment free of intimidation and fear. All right, so intimidation can come in many ways, and so we need to make sure that the school is not going to have individuals on campus who will intimidate kids or intimidate staff, because then you are not going to want to come to school. It's not going to be a safe place. So we have to ensure that it's free of intimidation and fear. It is also a setting where the educational climate fosters a spirit of acceptance and care for all students, where the behavioral expectations are clearly communicated and they're consistently enforced and fairly applied. This is the definition of a safe school, so that all kids can come in and they can be assured of all of this. Staff can come in and feel that they're assured of all of these attributes. So, unfortunately, a safe school is one where the individuals who are responsible for the school must think about the unthinkable. When things happen, what do we do? So, it's important that decisions that impact the safety of our students and staff be based on fact, and that careful consideration is given to all of the contributing factors in every situation. So, what that means is that not every situation is going to be the same. Some situations are going to be more, they may have more imminent danger expressed in it than others, but it's important for us who are doing the decision making to make sure that we look at all the factors before acting. The way in which the adults react to an event on a school campus can create or increase panic, or it can maintain an atmosphere of calmness, which of course can be the most important factor when a crisis occurs. Because if everyone panics, then you can imagine what happens. So being prepared for the unthinkable and being able to maintain a calm environment so that we can handle whatever comes up is very important. Security at Sealth. So we have 3 trained security officers, 2 male, 1 female. They have a tremendous job to do. There are also 2 assistant principals and myself. So altogether there are 6 of us. We work closely together to make sure that the 1,100 students and about 125 staff members, that we are all cared for here. But when we look at it, it takes all of us, not just the 6 people that I just mentioned there. It takes everyone to be alert and to be ready for anything that may happen. So whenever we see something, we always say, if you see something, say something. Because we don't have eyes everywhere. But there are people walking, there are people who are observing, and so it takes us all so that anytime something happens, we can be more alert to prevent or to react. Possible dangers that happen here at the school. Sometimes it comes from the community. You know, we may have things that are happening in the community that we have to protect ourselves from. And that's where we hear from the police department. We may hear from the school district, security office. We may hear from other sources that things are happening in the neighborhood. And so we need to protect ourselves. Students. As you know, students sometimes, not just the normal fights that may happen, because we have to be alert to those. But sometimes there are threats from students also, which may be of a more serious nature than just you and I not getting along. So it might be a little bit more danger to a wider spectrum of students and staff. Unfortunately, we do have parents and guardians who do also come in and pose threats to our community within the school. And so we have to be aware of this and vigilant. Yes, sometimes staff members may pose a threat too. And so we have to also be alert of that. And then, of course, there's the intruder that may come into campus. A stranger might not even be a stranger. It might be someone that we know, but nonetheless, they're coming in with bad intentions. They're coming in to do harm or to express themselves in some violent way. So those are possible threats that we have to be alert to and aware of as we conduct ourselves during the day. And then one that is even more, you wouldn't think that it should be a threat, but it has become more so, social media. Officer O'Neill and I had to deal with clowns. You remember that when we had that clown threat? And that's all social media stuff. So yes, it has become, we can get threats from social media that we have to respond to. So, responding during an emergency, there are some universal procedures or actions that are taken in response to an emergency, a threat, or a hazard in the school. There are 6 universal procedures that you will find happening in the school. These will include a lockdown. Sometimes it's a modified lockdown, but nonetheless a lockdown. A shelter in place, which is sometimes called a modified lockdown. There's a reverse evacuation, which means that everybody comes in rather than go out. And then there's a sheltering for severe weather, and then there's the evacuation or relocation of students from this site. And then there's the reunification with parents and so on. So those are some of the things that are universal actions when there is a threat. Know that all incidents that involve guns or weapons are taken very seriously. And so we respond and we react, and then there are also what comes next after the response. And I believe that some of the other individuals tonight will be talking more specifically about some of the major involvement of guns and weapons. So I wanted to focus on what you should know what you should know. So I talked about those universal responses, and I wanted to say that the definitions and vocabulary are not universally applied or understood. They're not always the same. So in some cases, I may say a lockdown, but it means something else to, may mean a modified lockdown. I may say a shelter in place, and someone may think it means a lockdown. And so it's important for us within the school district to have the same vocabulary. But it's also important for parents to understand what the vocabulary means. So you may get a phone call saying that the school is in lockdown, or you may hear it on the news or something of that sort. And so that's why I wanted to share some of that here with you. So I have here what a lockdown is. And some of the highlights are that during the lockdown, students are moved or remain inside for their safety because there's some sort of threat for their well-being that occurs on the outside, right? Or it might even be on the inside, but they are in lockdown. So they are moved into a safe environment. And I've highlighted here that school administrators and district officials work closely with law enforcement and other outside agencies to maximize student safety. So we are in lockdown, we are in a secure position where we lock doors, we stay inside, we secure ourselves in a position so that we're not seen from others outside. So bathrooms, cafeteria doors, entry doors, office doors are all locked. The students are moved out of the hallways and into the nearest classroom immediately, and they must stay in those rooms until they are cleared to leave. So lockdown, you are there, you're going to stay in there for your own safety. Students and staff are kept away from the doors and the windows. All doors are locked and closed, and then the blinds are closed. We do take attendance, and then we ask that all students and staff remain quiet. Okay. So, lockdown. Whoops, I went backwards. Shelter in place. You may also hear that we go into shelter in place. The difference between a shelter in place and a lockdown is that in a shelter in place, we are protecting ourselves from something on the outside. And business goes on as usual on the inside because the threat is not in the space where we are, the threat is on the outside. So we are protecting kids and staff from whatever is occurring outside. So if there's an activity going on outside, such as PE or anything of that sort, we will bring the students in. And then we will protect everyone inside the building. The level of activity allowed on campus during a shelter-in-place varies by the incident. So again, it's important for us to know the facts and to know exactly what the threat is and make the determination as to whether the shelter-in-place will be that our students are allowed to go from classroom to classroom or whether they are going to stay put in one location. The decision is made by the police and or the principal to put the school in shelter in place in much the same way that decisions are made for lockdown. So again, knowing all the facts and so on. But again, whenever there's a decision for a shelter in place, there is no imminent danger to students or staff. Students, for the most part, are allowed to continue their studies in a supervised classroom that is locked and secure. And this is the preferred method to keep people out and control access to our buildings. Procedure for a lockdown, kind of went over some of those, but normally we make the announcement, we tell everyone we're in lockdown and so on. But notice that, again, students and staff are to remain in lockdown until the emergency responders, which normally police, fire, or rescue personnel, or the school incident commander gives the all clear. So you'll find that, yes, we ask kids to stay in a position, we ask the staff to stay there. Sometimes it gets pretty nerve-wracking because you don't know what's going on, you just know you're in lockdown because we can't get on the intercom to say, here's what's happening. All right? We just say you're in lockdown. And sometimes it does get to be somewhat stressful for people to just stay in that position. But again, we have always emphasized to our staff that it's important that we follow the procedures. Okay, this one is, this is a shelter in place or a modified lockdown, some people will call. And it's called a modified lockdown because it sometimes could be a lockdown, but with some modifications in that we may allow students to go from class to class and so on. Again, it sometimes is interchangeable with a shelter in place, but a shelter in place is somewhat more, less alarming, I guess, to individuals than a lockdown. And so with a shelter in place, outdoor activities cease immediately and do not resume until further notice. And then if someone wants to get in the building, because we lock all exterior doors, so we limit access to anyone coming in, and that person must be identifiable to us or able to identify themselves in some way. Normal activity can continue within the building. So kids will still go to lunch, teachers will still continue to teach, and so on. So as much as we can to keep things at a normal operating capacity. People may wonder about the kids and the teachers in the portables because they are outside of the building. And so depending on the situation, we will allow students to come into the building supervised by the security. So if we know that it's safe for them to leave the portables and walk into the building, then we will allow that. If, however, the threat is such that we don't even want them going out into the open space, we will keep them in their classroom. Okay, what can parents and guardians do in an emergency? Number one thing, do not panic. So you may hear it on the news, you may get an alert. If you signed up for those alert texts and so on, you may get one of those that says, Sealth International High School has just gone into a lockdown or shelter in place. Please do not rush to the school to pick up your child, because then it adds to the chaos that might already be occurring. And then it also creates more of an environment for us that we cannot control. Because if we have your kids secure, then you just have to trust that we are doing the best. Because our priority is to make sure that your kids are safe and to make sure that the staff is safe. And so if we have parents coming in, then what we'll have to do is also take the parents in and make sure that the parents are safe. And so it adds to the number of people that we may have to contain and be accountable for. So it says your first instinct will be to come to the school to check on your child or to take him or her home. You are strongly encouraged not to come to the school, and you should only attempt to come after the lockdown or the shelter in place has been lifted. You can tune to the news media for information. You can also follow Twitter at SEA Pub Schools. And I wanted to put here that remember the safety of your children and staff is our first priority. After that comes the reunification of students with their parents. Okay, but we want to make sure that they're safe first. And if you have ideas how to make the school better, how to respond better to incidences, or how to communicate better, and if you have suggestions or questions, I invite you to come tomorrow at 4:30, and I'll be meeting with anyone that shows up to bounce off some ideas and so on, so that you can help me make the school a better place.
Can you tell us where that meeting is happening?
That meeting is happening in Shikashib, which is our Native American classroom. It is 214B.
I don't know if you're the right person to ask this question, but there's work going on for a safe passageway through the sports field area or in that southerly direction. Can you tell us anything about what's going on there?
Yes, well, a little bit. The little that I know is that it has been approved and money has been put aside to make it happen. It won't become a reality until 2018, I believe, the spring of 2018. So they'll start working on it, I believe, this
And it's a dedicated trail, or what exactly?
Yeah, it's for kids and others to go from here to Westwood Village. Because right now, as you know, the kids go through the alley right here. And it's not only, it's not that it's not safe, but it's not that, it's not a nice place for them to just be walking through. Plus, they are disruptive to the people who live in that area. So the money has been put aside to make it a nicer trail, so that they can get more business at Westwood.
It's funded through the Safe Schools program, and community members actually got together to apply and nominate that as a way to improve safety.
Thank you. All right, so at the end of this meeting, if you have more questions or comments or anything, I'll be around. I am going to pass it on to the next person.
Ms. McAvoy. That's okay. Whatever works for you guys.
All right.
We're all so flexible as we do this anyway. Good evening. My name is Peggy McAvoy. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Operations. I was here last year, and I recognized some of the faces from last year, so thank you for coming back again. I was asked to give a 5-minute snapshot of what we do in the district and how we are here to support each of the schools. In my office, which includes the Safety and Security Office and Emergency Management, our task is to make sure that we put together a whole program that schools can tap into, and that really focuses on how do we prevent any emergency that we can. If we can't prevent it, how do we prepare for it? And then how do we respond in a coordinated way? And after the incident, and we've responded and everybody's safe, we still need to go back to talk with our students and our families about recovering from those incidents, because a lot of times there is some leftover trauma, and we want to make sure that we are supporting the schools because we want them to be able to go back to the business of education and starting to learn again. So that's what our office does, is try to think about all 4 of those phases. When we talk about preventing things, that's really our policy work, and it's making sure that we have MOUs with the police department, working with the Emergency Operations Center downtown with the City of Seattle, working with the Public Health Department, because although we're focusing on violence and more human incidents here, we also need to think about things like pandemic flu or contagious disease. We need to prevent those sorts of things. And also we think about earthquakes, because we're in an earthquake region. So that's what we do in prevention. As far as preparedness, our office offers monthly trainings for schools to come and take in order to be more prepared for responding in a coordinated way. We offer what's called a SIMS class for all schools to take, which is how to do critical incident management in your school. We also, this year, had all of our precinct captains, along with Chief O'Toole, come to meet with all of our principals and spent the morning with them actually running through some scenarios so that we could district-wide work in a coordinated way. So it's a district-wide. We bring the schools in, and we want to really make sure that everybody is aligned and can respond and support all of our kids. As far as responding in a coordinated way, we are very lucky with our precincts, and I'm not just saying that because they're here. They are always here when we need them, and they don't even mind it when we ask them foolish questions. They're very, very good. They're always there. They'd rather be there early and to help prevent things, and so we're very thankful about that. And then as far as recovery, we've got a group of people who actually help do, if you have a threat that happens from a student to another student, for instance, we have a threat assessment team that actually comes in and does an assessment to figure out what's going on, how do we de-escalate it, what do we need to do about that to minimize any risks for everybody. I think one of the issues that we have in the district is all kids need to be educated. So we need to bring back all kids into the school system. We just need to figure out how to do that safely. So the threat assessment team helps with that. Sometimes they need to, students need to go to different schools. Sometimes they need to have mediation happen between the kids. So we need to think about that, and we have a team that does that. And then we also bring in counselors after any critical incident in order to make sure that we're supporting the school and helping the staff also, because it's not just about the students, it impacts staff. And
Is that something new?
Is that something new?
Yes.
Which part?
The part where if your child gets attacked, that there is this response team in place.
There's a threat assessment team. Actually, I started that team before Columbine, so it's been around for a long time, since 1998.
So I had a child who was violently attacked by another child, and the school did nothing.
So it's not, well, and let me tell you, this is a lethal threat, so I'm going to kill you. That's what the threat assessment, hello, I haven't had any liquids in a little while, so my mouth is sticking together here. If you have a threat, that's very different than actual attack and an assault. So I would like to talk with you about what happened and see if there was something else that my team maybe could have done to help that. Okay? But most of the time when we're talking about threat assessments, we hear in the social media, I'm going to kill you, or kids will say that to other kids. And we want to make sure that, are they joking around? Or are they serious? Do they have weapons at home? We work with the police department to help do some of those assessments as we're trying to figure out how do we make sure that it's safe for everybody. So, been around for a long time, but sounds like you have a unique case that maybe you and I
Well,
need to
she
talk
was
about.
pummeled in front of a teacher, and the teacher did nothing, and the school did nothing.
Okay. So, you
And
and I
there
need
was
to
like
talk more.
75 pounds difference between my child and the other child.
And that's scary. We want every kid to be safe when they're coming to school, and we want them to feel safe. So I would like to talk with you. So that's my 5 minutes. That's what we do. We do have the security specialist that the principal was talking about. That's part of my team that gets deployed here at the school. We also have additional security staff that are regionally based that can come to assist also.
Do you have a system in place where you go and review procedures at individual schools, or is there like a reading system, like, oh, you don't have enough water, or
We do
whatever.
a safety audit annually with our schools.
Oh,
and
safety audit, that's,
And we make recommendations.
And what is the process if somebody wants, I mean, if they're not satisfied with the way things have gone, like maybe with what Lynn was talking about, is there a process to go through
We
the
have
district? I mean, is there?
We have a security hotline that is 24/7, 252-0707.
and what kind of incidences or things that you would, when would you call that line? What we,
People call that line, for instance, when they want information or they've had an incident, they're not sure how to proceed.
Okay.
Or sometimes if, in fact, there has been an incident at the school and they're wondering why certain procedures didn't happen or did happen. So
Okay.
it's taken by our team in the office, and then it gets routed to whoever it needs to be routed to.
okay.
Good resource. Can you say that number again?
252-0707.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Clark put some water up there for you.
Oh, yeah. So, Ms. Coon, were you here to participate? Did you have some words to say, or introduce yourself, please? Thank you.
My name is Helen Jung. I'm the new Executive Director of Schools for the Southwest region. I started this position this past August, so I'm fairly new to the position. I'm just really happy to be here. I work very closely with Principal Clark and Principal Fraser Hammer to ensure that your kids have emotional and physical safety. We do learning walks together. They're visible in both parts of the building. We do not only academic planning, but also work through the building leadership teams to engage closely. I mean, it's a really unique opportunity to have a middle school and high school housed in the same site. And we need to take advantage of that as much as possible. So that's the kind of work that I do. After the seal. Thank you.
Are you from the district?
Yes, I was a
So you're not
principal.
new to?
No, I'm not new to Seattle Public Schools.
And the Southwest schools is Sealth and, is Sealth the only high school in the district? Or would that include West Seattle?
West Seattle High School.
West Seattle and South. Okay, and Captain O'Neill? Did you bring stickers this year?
Actually, no. I enjoy giving those things out. Well, I think everyone here pretty much stole my thunder because that's pretty much everything that we do. And it's all based on collaboration and communication. Not only from the parents, but from the kids, from the faculty and the staff. That communication network is vital to everything that we can provide for a safe environment here at the school, because it's all predicated on our response. As Peggy, Ms. McAvoy, she alluded to, we had a tabletop exercise in the last, I think it was 3-4 months ago. And basically, we went over large-scale type scenarios right down to smaller type scale scenarios. And what that did was brought everybody to the table and started mapping out exactly what roles and responsibilities that each discipline has, not only from the school, and I learned a lot. There's a lot of things that even myself and my officers didn't know that the school had in place, which is fantastic. But conversely, the teachers and the faculty staff had to understand exactly what roles and responsibilities we had and some of the asks that we would have as well. And those exercises are top-notch. There's those type of things that must happen on a regular basis, not just every once in a while, to keep us fresh, keep us up to date on the new nuances of how we do things. They have to happen. But again, it's predicated on that collaborative and that communication piece. The other piece is the communication that we get from the parents, which is sometimes lacking, because there are some times that the communication that we get is not as fast as we would like, in order to jump out in front of a lot of potential issues that we see. You mentioned some of the influences that come from outside of the school, i.e. gangs, i.e. some of the predatory type issues. That information is vital for us to get firsthand right now, so we can set up and maybe put together probable cause for an individual that could ID an individual in a quick, fast fashion. Or, because if you sit on that, really, if you sit on that information, that gives these individuals an opportunity to offend again. And that's something vitally that we cannot have. We cannot have. We don't want that. We just had an incident just yesterday when one of our kids was approached by an individual. And the individual's parents brought the child to the precinct and gave us that information. Well, what that did is give us the opportunity to basically put out the right type of resources in that area. It gave us also the other opportunity to collaborate with some of the other disciplines that we have in our precinct of maybe like type of instances that has happened in the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, last couple of days. So we can put all that information together and put together a pretty forthright plan of how to deal with this situation. When that happened, we immediately alerted our community policing teams. We also alerted our ACT teams, our anti-crime teams, and put them in the area. And what our anti-crime teams can do, they can go out in a more covert fashion and provide that extra blanket of security for our neighborhoods. Not just, for the kids there, but for the whole entire neighborhood. Because you never know exactly what type of issues some of these individuals may have. We just don't know. So again, if I can stress enough, I can't stress enough, that collaborative piece, that communicative piece is vital to everything that we can do. We don't like being caught, so to speak, behind the 8 ball on any of this stuff. Also, we like to come to the school. We have youth ambassadors inside of the school that we collaborate with the kids, and they give us a wealth of information. Some of these kids come up with some pretty neat things, and that's one of the things that Chief O'Toole has marveled. especially with Denny, with our school resource officers going and speaking with those kids, with our officers from time to time coming in and talking with the kids. We're able to keep a lot of things down to a minimum. When you start talking about some of the gang issues, which was pretty prolific last year, and they ebb and flow. Sometimes we have them, sometimes we don't. It all predicates on what type of environment the kids have created throughout the school year inside of the school. We just don't know. Again, that's where that communicative piece comes in at. It really does. So, to keep it short, if you hear something, if you see anything, please say something. If not to the staff here at the school, to your police department, so we can jump on it really quick and in a hurry. We've made some fantastic strides of really being on the same page with each other. Like I said, we had the nice tabletop exercise that brought everybody in one big room together. We had a meeting such as this last year to talk about a lot of different things. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. And we want to put the best foot forward to protecting the kids and creating a safe environment, not only for the schools, but for the whole area. Okay? So if you have any questions, fire away. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about the relationship with the school and Westwood Village? Because we hear,
In what respect?
we hear, that there's kids causing trouble over there, and the
Okay.
merchants are unhappy,
Yes.
and this and that, and I wondered if there was some work between the school and the police and the Westwood community.
Yes. Now, we have our community policing teams that basically canvass the Westwood Village area for different issues such as the vagrancy and the drugs and the shoplifting and those type of issues. There was references being made that a number of the school kids were going in and basically shoplifting. There was some information that was provided to us that basically depicted individuals that were going in there on a regular basis and stealing. And they were a little bit dismayed only because they were trying, from what we understood, don't know how true it is, trying to convey that information to the faculty of the schools and were met basically with a roadblock. Now, when that happens, we can be that conduit of information to bring that information to the school and see exactly where those communication breakdowns occur. And hopefully we can get down to the bottom of things. We put together our resources over there at Westwood Village, and sometimes all it takes is presence. Sometimes it takes a little bit more robust response, maybe an apprehension or two because of the individuals that are there. But, those things are necessary. Those things are necessary. And again, it's all predicated on communication. Everyone around, not only from the community abroad, but here inside the school, it has to be a round-robin effect of communication so everybody's on the same page. Because we can't fault the school for things that they do not know about. Okay?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Youth Ambassadors, I've heard, is a wonderful program at Denny.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything like that at Sealth? And
Not-
the reason I ask
Yes.
is, if there isn't,
Mhm.
can that, with each grade of kids that move up to Sealth, could that program somehow get to Sealth? And there is certain faculty who are very anti-police here, so it's not just the culture of the kids, but some of the adults putting their own political agenda on. And so if a program like that and a group of kids who know that police are friends, 99% of police officers are our friends, and if that could continue on, I think that would make a huge difference.
Yes, Youth Ambassador that program is fantastic. And like I said, I know my chief really, really likes that program. And she really fortifies and pushes us and gives us the fortification to carry that through. It's great. It really is. I would just love to be able to provide something like that for Sealth here. If it were to carry over, that's great. But keep in mind, barring having a nice title for that Youth Ambassador crew, We always have had and continue to have, like our community policing teams come inside of the school. We have our school resource officer, of course, they're right there next door to Denny, but she also comes over here to the Chief Sealth side. So there's always opportunities for that type of collaboration. Something more formal as far as a group of individuals that want to be the ambassadors for Chief Sealth here, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think that would be fantastic.
Is that something that the district or is the precincts themselves or the city, what would be the resources to look into that? Do you know?
Well, number one, what I would like to do, and we can explore those ideas with the school faculty, number one. That would be tier number one. And see how feasible that would be for those individuals. And of course, it takes the right type of individual to be in that type of setting, that have the spirit of cooperation with the police officers, and of course with the faculty as well.
Okay.
And again, it flows right back to communication, cooperation, and collaboration.
Captain Davis?
Yes.
Just want to add something to that. You're absolutely correct that it really is tied to the faculty. Correct me if I'm wrong, Principal. I've gone to address the kids in the Youth Ambassador program at Denny, and that program started because of the initiative of particular faculty coming out of a Seeds of Compassion conference in 2008. It was a program being promoted through that conference as the Dalai Lama Seeds of Compassion conference, and it was really tied to the initiative of these particular staff to want to take this on. So I think really your first step is to find somebody on staff who's really passionate about doing that kind of work.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I was here last year, and it was a doozy in terms of incidents with
Yes.
shelters in place. And speaking of Westwood Village, I don't know if this is all related, but I've seen a lot, I guess you call it tagging, like on the post office, on the side wall, the spray
Yes.
paint. And I've noticed a lot more of it, I think, around the neighborhood. Do you know what's going on with that? Is there a correlation of,
Depends on the actual verbiage that's on the building.
I can't read it half the time.
Yes, a lot of these individuals do it because that's my tag and I want to be seen and known. And unfortunately, it causes a considerable amount of blight and sometimes a financial burden on, the areas in which they tend to tag. What we like to do is get our officers out there to take a look at that and figure out exactly what it is, whether it be gangs or whether it be one of the individuals that just love to tag or whatever the case may be. We have gifted individuals that can read that. If it's a gang situation, we can. Sometimes I get lost. But sometimes we defer that to the gang unit, who can go into it a little bit deeper if it has some a flavor of gang tinges that's there. And we just go from there. Oftentimes, depending on what they say and how they say it, coupled with all the other intelligence that we get from street sources and things that way, that gives us a lot of good intelligence and information going forward. Like I said, sometimes it's just somebody just wanting to be seen. This is my tag moniker, and I'm going to put it out there so everybody can see it, and I'm going to go up 15, 20 blocks and put it out there. So when everybody sees that, I'm the big person on campus. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff, our kids aren't doing it. These are 30-year-old men that are out there doing this type of stuff. And some of them are so sophisticated, they come clear from out of state to put their tag out there for everybody to see. Yes, so we have individuals inside of the Seattle Police Department that basically come out, look at the tag, they log it, and they put together their investigation as far as hopefully gathering enough information for probable cause to make that arrest on who these individuals are. And some of them have tagged not only here, but they go clear throughout the city, landscape, and do their thing. And if you look, like the International District, some of the buildings that aren't basically vacant or kind of hard to see areas, they're back there just ripping it up. They're tearing it up. And it causes a considerable amount of blight on the community and has progressively gotten worse in the last couple years that we've seen. And it's spending. But the neat thing that we have and that we've kind of figured out going through this kind of stuff is, hey, look, We can alert our communities of exactly what's going on with this stuff. If they see it, let us know. Find It, Fix It app, it's fantastic. You call that or you type that stuff in. They get right out there, lickety split, and clean that up. That is the best thing you could possibly ever do.
The Find It, Fix It app?
Find It, Fix It app, fantastic tool. If it happens on your private property and maybe the Find It, Fix It app is maybe a little bit, too slow, get out there and slap some paint on that. Pow, it's gone. Sometimes it's almost like a gathering of flies, if you will. These individuals will get out and paint, and if they see it and you let it stay there long enough, that's just an invitation for more people to come in and join in on the fun. We encourage our community members to either use the Find It, Fix It app so we can get that painted out, or there's been times when our own officers went out and assisted the community in painting it out, because we know firsthand what can occur if you let it stay there.
And, I'm sorry, and knock on wood, I don't want to jinx it, but is there a trend of why there's appears to be less incidents this year than last year? Because last year it was just.
I know we've had some success in finding out who some of these individuals are.
Okay.
Yeah, and holding them accountable. The racial percentages, I have no idea. That could be part of the problem. But, we just keep cracking at it. We just keep at it.
Because something's happened, because honestly, like this year, it's been like,
Well, let's find some wood to knock on. Yeah, we want to keep that down to a minimum. But they can control a great many different places. As you noticed, especially down under the overpass over West Seattle Freeway, underneath, how pristine that was for a portion of time. Now, a portion of it is just painted out because they found a nice new canvas. They said, hey, this is nice, neat, nifty. This is a good place for me to put my tag. Some of it's creative, but it's destructive all at the same time.
So you talked about gang activities that have been ebbing and flowing, and is there a sense that is kind of like it's down right now in this community, or?
Well, back in the day, when I was a gang detective, back in the latter 80s, everything was at a zenith. Everybody wanted to be a gang, and everybody was doing what the gangsters like to do, and some of it was tagging. Well, Seattle is kind of a place where we really don't have those problems, and the real estate is such that you can't really claim anything as your turf. I mean, we had rival gang members that were as close as across the street from each other. And can't really get that set up. Plus, the communities and the Seattle Police Department was on it so quickly that they really couldn't get a chance to really flourish that much. So we had a good handle on it firsthand. But again, the gang unit is instrumental on that because they carry with them not only the discipline and the resources, but a heck of a lot of knowledge of what they're seeing and what they're looking at. And they can help us convey that information to our communities as well. Anyone else?
But isn't there a kind of a problem uptick in the White Center area with gangs because they took the gang unit away and people started misbehaving and now they're playing catch up?
I can only attest for what's going on here. I know White Center area does have a considerable amount of issues, and those are like King County issues, and we collaborate with King County a lot, and they convey some of the information to us of exactly
Because your
who is.
jurisdiction stops there?
Roxbury,
Oh.
basically. So, but like we have a great relationship with the King County Sheriff's Office, and we know how short-staffed they are over there. And if it's anything of an emergent fashion, we will go and assist our county partners over there, take care of some of that business. But they have overall responsibility and jurisdiction in their neck of the woods. Now, it ebbs and flows. A lot of times it's all predicated on who is and who isn't out of jail. We can make a fantastic arrest on 5, 6, 10 different individuals, and you'll see a lot of the issues seem to tank. Sometimes when they get right back out of jail, it starts to pick back up again. So we're back to the drawing board. So we see that happen quite a bit, even over on the Seattle side of things. Right now, we are confronted with property crime issues. Lots of folks out there stealing, period. Westwood Village, I know we mentioned it, the stealing, shoplifting, car prowling, even car thefts. They're in it. And some of these individuals, they have multi-disciplines. They do it all. And unfortunately, some of the individuals that our officers are catching have been caught 4, 5, 6 times before. So that's an issue that I know our chief is working with our other city heads to try to conquer, because we want to make sure that our numbers stay down to a minimum, if at all. We don't want to see that, especially for our communities. You guys deserve a lot better, and you deserve not to have your stuff ripped off, period, end. So we're putting together a pretty good comprehensive campaign to keep that from happening. But again, our officers have to be armed with the right information, and our community members have to be armed with the right information as well. Right down from graffiti, the burglaries, the car prowling. We have several bulletins that we have put together that we disseminate through the West Seattle blog and other media outlets, especially Twitter, we use. Please pay attention to those. If you're part of your block watch, which is at the foundation of everything that we do, echo that to your community members. There's a lot of times where some of that information is not taken to heart, and folks are still leaving stuff out, for these guys to steal and pilfer. I made the comment of, it's almost like feeding the pigeons. If you give them a steady diet, they will come. They are going to come back. Let's starve them. Let's starve them. And at the same time, get us the information, report it. There's a lot of underreporting. We would like to see that reported upon. Get us the information. And again, that harkens back to everything that we do. Communication, collaboration, cooperation. Okay? All right. Fantastic. Thank you.
We do have one other group that's going to
Oh.
speak.
Before you leave, I wanted to commend the precinct for responding each time and collaborating with us whenever we had the student walkouts or protests or things of that nature. I appreciated the fact that the police were there, their presence was there.
Of course.
And it was always a positive thing. So
I have to be honest, it's almost like herding cats. We got to get them all in a single file and in a row. But I tell you,
Spending all day with them?
some of the kids are clever, and they make us laugh. But the neatest thing that I could probably take out of all of this, they see our officers, because a lot of them see our officers on a daily basis, especially our school resource and CPT, and they'll run up and give them a hug. Hello, Officer so-and-so, how you doing? They have a pretty cool sign that says some pretty cool stuff on it, but they're jovial, and they understand exactly the do's and don'ts for the most part. So that's good. And again, we rely upon the faculty here to make sure that the kids are in line. So we would never have that type of negative interaction with them while they're out there trying to do their thing. And I know the faculty here is really trying to give them an exercise of free speech, and that's fantastic. But, the responsibility issue is there as well. And we're here to help them do that and try to provide that friendly face if we can.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we did have one other group here. It's called Be Smart, and they had approached us about talking to our community, and we thought, well, this right here seems like the perfect opportunity. So they're going to talk about gun safety.
Good evening, my name is Freddie Campbell, and this is Jill, and we are both volunteers with Mom Demand Action, and we're here to introduce Be Smart, and it's an educational program on gun safety.
So yes, my name is Jill Hangen, and I'm a mom, and I'm a psychologist, and I joined the group A Mom's Demand Action for Gun Sense in America about 1.5 years ago. We are a grassroots group that is serving to change the culture of gun violence in America. We do that through both legal means as well as educational means, and tonight I'm going to talk about the Be Smart program, which is the educational component. It's meant for adults to educate adults on how to keep their children and the children in their community safer. We have our board over there that kind of displays a lot of the points we like to make, and we generally give a 20-minute presentation that has a whole PowerPoint. So tonight I'm going to try to cut it really short and give you the basics of this program. There are lots of statistics, and one of the ones that I want people to know is that American children are 11 times more likely to die from gun violence than children in any other developed country. Kind of a scary statistic, and one that really can change. These are deaths that are preventable. And the main points that we make, that the name Be Smart stands for the points that each of us as adults, what we can do to prevent that kind of unnecessary gun violence. So the S is the most important part of Be Smart, and that is secure your guns in your homes. And by secure, we mean if you own a firearm, and we support anyone making that choice for themselves, but if you have one, you need to keep it secure. And that means have it in a safe or with a safety, and have it stored separately from any of the ammunition. So those are the main points that will keep people safer, and I hope the police officers in the room will agree that that's the main thing. It's fine to own a gun if you feel like that's what you want to do to be safe, but keep it secure, keep it locked, and keep the ammunition separate. The second letter there is the M, which stands for model responsible behavior when it comes to firearms. So some of that is making the decision with really good thoughtful, like, is it necessary? Do we need to have a firearm in our home? Would that be helpful, or really is that more of a risk? And, do a little research about, is there a need in the community you live in? Or is it really not the smartest thing to do? If you choose to do it, learn about it. Know how to store it safely, and know how to use the weapon that you have in your home. Be sure all the adults in the home are on board and agree, and they're comfortable with that, and that they learn how to use that weapon safely. The next letter there in SMART is to ask. And that's important to know, is to ask where your children are going if those people own a firearm in their home. I want to share a statistic that a lot of people, when we give these talks, we're part of the West Seattle group, and we go to schools mainly in West Seattle, and people think, I don't know anyone who owns a gun. Well, you're probably wrong. You probably do know people. It's just not talked about. Let's see, I'm trying to find my stat here. Approximately 24% of King County adults report that they do have a firearm present in or around their home. And that's the people who said they did. There certainly can be, and are likely more than that 24%. So there are very likely people where your children may be going who own a firearm. And what you need to do is just, when you know your kid's going to be spending time there, ask them, do you own a firearm? And if you do, is it locked securely? Is the ammunition kept separately and locked as well? It's the kind of thing that can be pretty easily brought up in any kind of safety discussion. If your child is going somewhere else, you can ask, but it's also helpful to bring it up if you know kids are coming over to your house. And just, when you talk about general things, I always want everybody to know we have a dog at our house, and if anybody has an allergy, you just want to know it's a really furry dog. If you have a hot tub, you might want to let people know, yeah, we have a hot tub, but it's behind a fence. Those kinds of things. You can also say, we do have a firearm in our home, but it's locked securely. Or just so you know, there are no firearms in our home. That kind of thing, just make it part of your general discussion. It's important, too, we've talked with a lot of people, and it turns out like their relatives. Grandfather seems to be one that comes up a lot, like they didn't realize, that the kid's grandparent had a gun. It might have been in the vehicle. That's another thing that people don't realize. A lot of people who own guns keep them in their vehicles. It may be in the glove box, or it may just be under the seat. And that's the kind of thing that you want to know about, so you need to ask. The one statistic I did want to share is the vast majority of guns used in crimes in Washington State are stolen from burglaries or car prowls. So again, that's the thing. If you choose to have it for your own safety, but it can be easily stolen because you haven't locked it up, it's not going to help you. It's going to be used in a crime. So if you make the choice, store your weapons securely. The next letter in SMART is, I'm blanking. I'm going to look on my sign. R, thank you. Recognize, that's why, because it's recognize the risks of teen suicide. So when I'm talking to parents and people who work with teens, that is the biggest threat to teens these days. Statistically, for middle schoolers, suicide is the #1 cause of death currently. So that's for middle schoolers. High schoolers, it's also a super high risk. I'm trying to find out, we have the statistic on here that says, let's see, where did I find it? Statewide, we had over 1,000 suicides in Washington State, and 520 of them were committed with firearms. It's a huge risk. So it is the primary method of suicide in Washington State. 139 youths aged 17 or younger died by suicide in a 4-year period. 49 of those youths died using firearms. And 37 in that time period died in King County by suicide. So it is a real risk. It happens here and across the state. And one of the things that's really important to be aware of, that in teens, suicide is often something that is very impulsive. That, that there may be signs. You may see a teenager who's, their mood's declining, their behavior's changing, they're doing things. But sometimes, and especially if there's a substance involved, like alcohol or drugs, it can be something that they just, on a whim, they had a really bad day because they're feeling really emotional. And if there is a firearm that's available to them that's unsecure, it so increases the risk of making that kind of impulsive decision. So be aware of those risks and be sure, once again, I'm going to say, to secure a firearm if you have one in your home. And the last one is to talk about this issue. So the T in SMART means talk to people. Talk to your family members, talk to other parents, talk to teachers, and spread the word that it's very important to secure firearms and to be aware of the risks to your children and the other children around. That there are firearms out there, and if they're unsecure, there are a risk for all the children in the area. If you have any other questions, we have lots of information, but I'm willing to field anything right now. No? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Clark wanted to say a few words.
So, good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Clark, self-parent. I haven't said that before. And Denny principal, and Denny parent. Great to have this discussion tonight. A couple of programs that Denny have come up as questions as a part of the discussion, so I want to give you some more information about that. And also, before I begin, I want to talk about how Ms. Fraser-Hammer and I work in concert together regarding any potential issue related to campus security. So we have clear procedures that we follow. The first one is that we always connect together personally to figure out the details and then to articulate a plan. And that plan involves coordination with the Seattle Police Department or Safety and Security or whomever needs to know pending on the situation. And then you'll know, as being parents here, that we, in the last couple of years, have always sent out communication together at the same time, so everyone on our campus receives the same information. And there was a comment earlier about less frequent issues this year. It's been fantastic. Our number one challenge last year was that some of our scholars were having a hard time walking to and from school. And it kept happening. And we worked really closely with the Seattle Police Department, and they all did a great job, and that hasn't happened once this year. And so we're just really pleased by that. We got to celebrate, so I'm gonna say it.
Can you elaborate what do you mean by having a hard time walking to and from school?
Yeah, we had some kids who were robbed on the walk. We also had some instances of indecent exposure in the community. And so those were our primary challenges. And the other thing I wanted to give is a little context. Ms. Fraser-Hammer did a great job of talking about the different levels of safety and security and really serious things all the way up to a lockdown. And a lockdown, as she described, means imminent threat on campus. I've been the principal for 12 years. We have never had an actual lockdown. We have never been in a situation where we had an imminent threat in the hallways of that degree. So I just want to say that to let you know that we plan for that and we practice, and it is uncomfortable when we're practicing for a lockdown because the kids actually have to move, out of the view of the window and really crouch down and stop. What is more common is called the shelter in place, and what that means is that kids are continuing to learn and experience their classes within the building. And that tends to happen a few times a year. Something will happen and we'll make the decision to go into a shelter in place. But it is not that super level of concern where kids are actually hiding from classroom windows. So I wanted to let you know that. I also want to say that our school officer has been mentioned a couple times, and that's been part of a great partnership with Seattle Police for about 12 years. And it started with an officer by the name of Adrian Diaz, and Officer Diaz and I have worked together for a long time. And it started with him just coming to school to meet kids and encourage them and be a positive part of their lives. And that's what the program is based on still today, being another positive influence, encouraging our kids to always do the right thing, thinking about time after school. What I mean by that is Officer Diaz would then go down to South Park late night on weekends and see our same kids and engage them positively on a Friday night so they're not tempted to do other things. And it's just been really positive and affirming all these years. So I want to say thanks to SPD for that. I also want to explain a little bit about youth ambassadors, and Council Member Herbold is correct that it started after the Seeds of Compassion visit from the Dalai Lama, actually at Cleveland High School. And Cleveland was the school that began that effort, and there's a fantastic volunteer by the name of Lori Markowitz. And Ms. Markowitz helped to begin this program at Cleveland and then asked us if we wanted to expand to Denny, and we said absolutely. And so it's about teaching kids how to become active citizens. So last year, when we were having these issues of kids walking to and from school, that was the issue that they focused on. And it was a great experience because the teacher was brainstorming with the class, what could we do? And the kids said, well, let's invite the chief of police to come to visit. Teacher said, great, let's do it. And she came. And they were like, wow, that is awesome. And then the chief has come back several times, and she helped. She even gave us a grant, and the kids were involved in figuring out what to do with the money. They chose safety whistles and a few other reflectors that help with walking safety. So it's just an example of giving kids the power to experience that they can make a change. And it's interesting that the presentation tonight was on gun safety, because their current passion is gun safety. And our kids went to Olympia last week, met with the governor and multiple representatives, gave testimony to a House bill about gun safety, and it's just a great example of them being empowered to make a change. And it is not something that we get additional funding for. Unfortunately, there's not a grant. It's just based on putting that in the schedule and then having a teacher who's excited about that, and then partnerships. So another last fact about it that's interesting is some of the kids at Cleveland who are now adults come back and help to lead the class. So it's that giving back, not a full generation, but within a 10-year increment. That's really exciting. So yes, sir.
So is it a class, youth ambassadors, or is it?
Yes.
It is a class?
It's a class. They meet every day, and they develop action plans for issues they care about.
And there's academic credit?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Middle school credit is easier than high school credit. I'll just say that. So in the middle school world, it's an elective class that kids choose, and then they sign up for the year as one of their classes.
So it might have to morph a little bit if you moved it into the high school realm in terms of maybe being a club or some other format, perhaps?
Yeah, we could certainly explore that, like how that works in the world of high school credits.
But at Cleveland, it was a club as opposed to a.
Oh, was it?
Principal, is Lori still around?
Yes.
So if there was a teacher here that was interested in doing it, would she maybe mentor that person?
I can't
Not that
speak
she's
for
not
her.
gonna volunteer.
He already does tons, but, yeah.
That's something she.
Ms. Fraser-Hammer and I could talk, and I could help make those connections. Sure. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else have any other questions for anybody? Opening the floor?
Can Johnny say a few things about his role here at Sealth?
Sure. How's it going? My name is Johnny Jefferson. I work for Communities and Schools. My primary job here is to strategically target students that are high risk of dropping out. And I heard one of the captains say about how some of the crime fluctuates here and throughout. I went to Sealth and also went to Denny and did a full 360. And it's always been like that. So some years you'll have a lot of crime, and some years you won't. And I think the biggest thing I heard is being prepared, and I think doing these kind of things like this really helps. And that brainstorming and continuing trying to figure out better ways to make things more accessible for students, student safety. Yeah, I think my job too. I case manage 60 students. Throughout the year, they go, it fluctuates as well, and trying to find all the supports and all their needs so they won't fall through the cracks. So that's primarily my job, and also to partner with a lot of the community-based organizations, making sure that they have access to the school and finding any additional resources for the school, along with Gretchen, the school social worker. We work a lot together on finding the resources to make sure everything.
Who is community in the schools?
Huh?
Who is community in the schools?
Communities in Schools.
Yes.
It's a nonprofit organization, and our headquarters is at the John Stanford, the district office. We are at Rainier Beach High School, Akikarosi. We're at Denny Middle School, Van Assel, Rainier Beach, South Lake High School. So a lot of the high schools and middle schools that have the highest needs. So yeah.
You're a branch of Seattle Public Schools?
No, we're not. We're just a community-based organization that are in partnership with Seattle Public Schools.
You're in
So,
some
but you're
other
just-
school districts too, right?
Yeah. This is a nationwide program, so it's everywhere, and But even at a high school level, I like to look at it as an intervention program, because after a while, a lot of kids fall through the cracks, and we end up with like a lot of kids that don't have a lot of the supports and a lot of necessary, like a lot of things they don't have. They're limited with resources. So.
We are